Hey guys, it's puck time for Thursday, November the 7th. Big slate of cards, games tonight in the NHL. We've got our guest today, and we're going to bring him right in because we got a lot to go over. Dave Cokin of wagertalk.com and Alex B. Smith of Sports Memo. Guys, how you doing? Dave.
Good, Carm. Good to see you, man.
Good, feeling good. Hey, we got snow up here today, man. I posted a little video of it earlier when I gave out a free play, but I'm not a big fan of the white snow, but I thought like hell had frozen over and the Leafs had won the cup. So thankfully, it's just winter.
You're living in the wrong country if you don't like snow.
Exactly. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. No snow here yet, but it is extremely cold. It's like 20 degrees, so it'll be coming here so shortly.
Yeah, see, I listened to you guys say 20 degrees, and it means something completely different to me. You guys are Fahrenheit, we're Celsius. That's not going to change, but I wish it was 20 here, 20 Celsius. All right, listen, guys, we got a full slate of cards, but we're going to go over like first four games, and then we're going to do as using my best Prez voice, last minute of play. But anyways, we're gonna get right. Gonna get right to it. We're gonna get to the Leafs in Vegas. Leafs at home tonight. The early line on this before we went on air, and I think it's changed a little bit, is the Leafs minus 136, Vegas plus 123. The over/under 6.5, shaded to the under here. Just before going on air to record this, I got word that it was Subban in net tonight for the Golden Knights. He was first off the ice at practice about 5-10 minutes ago. So again at recording, so he'll be in net to face Freddie Anderson. I'm going to go to you first, Dave, on this one.
Well, I don't want him with Subban. I mean, there's a big drop off from 1 to 2. With the Golden Knights, and it changes. Though I don't think the team's as confident with Subban. I can't. There's just no way to prove that comment, but I think it's true. The Golden Knights have been so lately. They've not played great hockey. The offense hasn't been as good as they'd like it to be, or as it's capable of being. And with Subban in the nets, to be honest with you, I'm going to have to take a look at the Maple Leafs in this game.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. When we look sort of at this series, it's obviously it's young with this Vegas franchise only being in the league a couple of years, and they've won like 3 of 4 against the Leafs. And I think Subban's only been in net for one of them, and that was a Leaf victory. But it's one of those things where you're getting a short number with the Leafs. I'm not sure if there's going to be an overreaction to the starters tonight, and you get more money coming in on the Leafs. What do you think, Alex?
I'm not crazy about playing over 6.5, but I think in this spot, that's something I would definitely look at here. Like I said, Toronto, we talked about how their defense has been shaky at times. Vegas, they just don't seem to be as sharp on the road like they are at home. Like I said, there's a big drop-off with Subban and Floyd, but there's a big drop-off at times, too. Even though Vegas have won 5 of 7 on the road, it's just not the same kind of pace or intensity that we see from them at home. So I look at the first period over and the full game over here.
Yeah, and by the way, the line has taken off on this game. I'm seeing now 150, 145, 150, 155. So if you want Toronto, you kind of missed the boat already.
Yeah, so there's an immediate reaction to that, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump to the second game. This is a late one. We're sort of going to bounce back and forth a little bit, but New Jersey Devils at Calgary. Calgary's minus 150 right now. The Devils are plus 135. The total 6.5 here. I'm not really sure what to make of the Devils. They had a slow start to the season. I think a lot was expected of that team. They've got 2 straight wins, points in the last 4. But you got this Calgary team. I was watching a little bit of the news, and I saw Giordano on the news this morning, and he talked about how the players got together and talked about they need to be better. And Dave, we talked last year a lot about when players hold these players-only meetings or they get together. He just said they're just not playing well. And if it wasn't for Riddick last game, who stood on his head, they probably lose that game to the Coyotes. Minus 150 here. What do you do, Dave?
That plus the fact that Arizona ran out of gas. in that game. It was their second at back-to-backs, and they were on fumes in the third period, and the Flames caught them. So they're not playing very well. The Devils, not awful lately. I think you mentioned they've gotten the point in 4 straight games. They won a shootout the other night. I think that was their first win past regulation so far this season. But still not a team I have much faith in. The odds makers are making it tempting to play Calgary here because the price is only about 150. But I've got to see something more than what I've seen. There was a little bit of a buy sign from the Flames on the last road trip. I thought they played better, but this team's just not where they were last year. And I'm not comfortable laying a price with them right now. Not a spot where I want the Devils either. At this point, I'm going to look deeper in this game as the day goes on. I guess my first impulse, probably New Jersey, but not enough for it to be a play for me.
All right, Alex, what your thoughts on this? Anything on this?
Yeah, I would look toward the under here in the spot. New Jersey, like I said, that offense, it just hasn't been clicking well when they've been winning games. They've been more focused on the defense. You saw it with the 2-1 win in the last game against Winnipeg. I can see where this would be kind of a slower paced game. We've seen 7 of the last 10 road games for the Devils go under the total. We've seen Calgary also kind of struggle at times offensively. And like I said, for them to have a meeting and say, oh, we want to get better, probably would be a focal point on defense. And if Riddick's playing as well as he did the other night, I don't see a lot of goals happening in this one.
Yeah, and these teams are, it's not a great amount, but they're enjoying getting games into OT. Flames so far, 18 games, 6 of them have gone into OT. That's obviously 33%. And 5 of the 13 games for the Devils have gone into OT. That's 38% of their games heading in there. So as far as regulation time bets for either one of these teams, it's probably not a great wager right now to be taking with these teams, going at the rate they're going.
And you can get the draw at plus 305. That's a pretty decent price for teams that have been going to OT at this regularity.
It's definitely not a bad one. We're going to switch over to Minnesota and the Sharks. The Sharks right now laying $142. Minnesota's plus 128. The Wild just aren't winning. They're not winning on the road. They're 2-8 on the road so far through 10. The wins were okay last time out against the Ducks, but before that it was the Ottawa Senators. So they're not really picking up any points there. It looks like it's projected to be Dubnyk in net tonight. He's like 2-6-1, and you're likely going to get Marty Jones in net 3-7-1 for the Sharks. Sharks swept the series last year, 3-0 over the Wild, outscored them 11-3. I'm going to go to you first, Alex, on this one.
Yeah, this is a game I probably would stay away from personally. I mean, you see the Sharks; they almost blew the game last time against the Hawks. They had a commanding lead, and Hawks got too late, but then they ended up getting the win with the empty netter. But this is a Wild team that I just can't back, especially with Dubnyk. Dubnyk's clearly been struggling as of late. Stalock's been the better of the 2 goalies, and that's not saying much because he's not that great of a goaltender in my opinion. So this is just a stay away spot for me altogether.
But, the Wild were able to get a win last time out, so that gives them a little bit of momentum. The thing on San Jose is, I mean, they're 5-11, 5-10-1. They're just not a very good hockey team. And I know you mentioned they swept the series last year, but San Jose was a good team last year. Right now, this is just not a good team. The goaltending has been very suspect throughout the season, and I'm not sure that's a shock to anybody because Martin Jones, meh, and Aaron Dell, meh.
Yeah,
I don't think you can feel good about laying prices with San Jose these days.
No, and I completely agree. And I know that you and I were pretty adamant last year in any playoff videos that just couldn't see the Sharks going very far with Marty Jones in net. And he kind of proved us wrong a couple of times. He stood on his head a few times in the playoffs, but. As far as a starter goes for a full season, he's just I just don't have confidence in him right now, and I think his record shows.
Yeah, I don't think they've got a starting goaltender. Not really. I mean, I think if you were grading goaltenders in the NHL, I'm not sure either one of these 2 guys make the top 30.
Yeah, I'm not and I've talked about it in previous videos. I'm not a big fan of. I understand it's a higher scoring league right now, but there's still goalies with some very good save percentages in the 9.1s, 9.2s, and when I see someone like a Jones at 0.889 or Dubnyk 0.883, it's one of the reasons why their goals against average is higher than it should be at this sort of at this point right now. Alex.
But yeah, Dave made a great point about with the Sharks too, with the starting goalies. I mean, they don't really have one. I have them ranked in as far as Western Conference teams. This is the worst goalie duo that I have in my rankings. Just like I said, you can't really rely on one or the other. And it's the thing, they were going with the 1A, 1B system last year, and that was because Aaron Dell was playing a little bit better than we had been seeing him play. But now the fact that he's just kind of regressed back to the norm, Jones, being unstable as well. It's just, I would like to this might be a live wager spot for the over. If we can see Minnesota get some goals early like they did last game when it was Anaheim, that would possibly be something I would look at. But other than that, this would be a stay away spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I originally looked at Minnesota and I thought, plus 128, as bad as they are on the road, the Sharks aren't that great right now either. And when you get to semi-mediocre type teams playing, I don't think home ice really exists for one team or the other. All right, we're going to go to, actually before that, obviously he's Alex B. Smith, Dave Cokin. I want to go through a couple of your streaks right now. Dave, you're on a pretty damn good NHL run right now, 7-1, your last 8. And I looked at those plays, and those are some nice plays, because anytime you're giving out plus money plays and they're winning, it's always an advantage to the better. You're not laying big numbers, which is great. And you've never laid big numbers.
No, I don't like laying big numbers. If I really love a big favorite, then I'll make a -1. But I'm not crazy about doing that. No, I'm looking for value spots where I think I've got better than a 50% chance to win, and I've got a dog. Or if look, and I'll get priced off games, which is no problem. Last night I liked Edmonton. Last night I thought, boy, they're catching the Blues in the back end of 2 games in 2 nights. It's going to be Jake Allen and Nets for St. Louis. But then the price is out there at -140, and it's like, okay, I'll wait for something better, because I'm not laying 140 against the Blues right now, and I saved money because the Blues won the game. So that's part of what you do in hockey, is be disciplined in terms of getting the right price on a game. You don't have to play every game.
Yeah, I agree completely, and as I talked about on yesterday's show, I was out in Vegas last week, and I did like an NHL 101 video, and I talked about the fact that what makes hockey betting profitable, if you do it, I believe, right, is the fact that there are over 1,200 NHL games, so you can pass. Like last night, I didn't have any action last night because I understand there's only 2 games, but why put out a game if you're not going to bet it or you don't like it, much like yours, or you've been priced out of it. So that's a fantastic point.
That run I'm on, I think it's 7-1 the last 8. That's covered about, 10 or 11 days, maybe even a little more than that. I'll pass with no problem if I don't find what I like.
Yeah, no, I agree. Switching gears, we're going to head over to Alex. Alex, you're on a pretty good run yourself right now. 63% up 17.6 units, your last 13 NHL plays. And you've got a play tonight in NHL. It's a top play. This was pretty close.
Yeah, it was close to being a 5% play, but like you did, Dave, talking about prices or whatever, it's a price. I still like playing the game, but it wasn't one worth, giving that extra value to. But there's a spot on the board tonight that I really do like, and it's available now at sportsmemo.com.
That's Alex B. Smith. You can find him on Twitter. Let's get his Twitter handle, AX Smith Sports, all one word. And Dave Cokin, obviously Dave Cokin on Twitter, and you'll find him at Wager Talk. You can get either one of their 7-day NHL packages right now for $49. Use promo code 49NHL. I know yesterday I gave out a different one, which was NHL 49. That one expired at the end of the day. And it was for the guys who were on yesterday, Buster of Buster Sports and Andrew McInnes Sports Memo. This one is 49 NHL, different code. Gets 7 days of their plays, $49. It's a great deal. it's less than the price of 2 packages at $25. Yep. So pick those ones up, guys. Washington, Florida. I love watching these two teams play. And I've got an NHL 5% play up at Wager Talk tonight. It's not this game. So let's talk about this game. Washington's even money right now. Florida's minus 110. The over-under is 6.5. My video on Twitter this morning, I did give out the over in this game as a free play. Florida came home after a 4-game West Coast trip. Usually those are pretty bad for East Coast team when you come home, but they had the luxury of playing the Detroit Red Wings. Right now, the Wings aren't beating anybody. I think I can get 5 guys on Wager Talk, and we can probably beat the Red Wings. Caps are playing great. 8-1 their last 9. That loss was a OT loss to the Oilers. They're just not losing right now. I'm going to go to you first, Dave.
Well, I'm not getting in the way of the Capitals. I mean, they're playing back to the Stanley Cup championship level they had 2 years ago. They're on fire. The goaltending's been good. There's just no weaknesses. Carlson's having an amazing season on defense, so the Ovechkin line looks unstoppable. This could be a fun game, though, because the Panthers are so explosive offensively. They're a pretty good hockey team. I like this Florida squad. It isn't a great spot for them, though. First game back home, and they're facing a team that will have a lot of support here. There are certain teams that do very well in terms of crowd support when they go down to Florida, and Washington's one of those teams. The main thing for me is I don't think I'm getting the price I want with the Capitals because the Panthers, I think the market recognizes they're a decent team at this point. But I can't get in the way of Washington. I mean, they're just playing amazing hockey. If anything, I don't know, just call it a guess. And I'll look at this game more later on. But if I had to pick a side right now, I think I might take Florida just on a gut feeling, but I'm probably not gonna do it.
No, and I agree with you. Before I throw this to Alex, I agree with you. I love watching teams like Washington, teams like Florida. I've only had one other than tonight, one other 5% play this year, and it was Colorado and Florida, the over 6.5. And watching that game there was 2-3 minutes into the game, I said to myself, there's likely no way I can lose this play over 6.5. It looked like an all-star game in the sense of they were just skating up and down the ice, very few whistles, and so many chances in the offensive zones. And this is the way Florida plays. So it'll be interesting to see what they do against a Washington team who are just playing like lights out right now. Alex.
I'm gonna take a shot here with Capitals team total. You can get over 3.5 at plus 115. They've scored 3 or more goals in 10 straight games. We've seen them score 20 goals in total in this 4-game win streak that they've been on. And it's funny. I talked about it on a different program about how when a team in a city wins, like we saw the Nationals win, that winning can kind of be contagious sometimes and go trickle over a little bit. And we saw the Nationals and Capitals kind of, they've been buddy for quite a while. When you go back to the Capitals winning a couple of years ago, I think that momentum, along with just the fact that they're playing great hockey, all that combined is really propelling them. Like Dave said, they're looking like the team that won a couple of seasons ago. No way I would jump in front of them. It would be Washington or nothing as far as the side goes.
All right. Sounds good. Alex B. Smith, Dave Cokin. All right, guys, we are going to do, as the press says, last minute of play. He actually sent me a message last night from Vegas. He's there terrorizing all of you guys, Dave. I'm not sure if you've run into him yet. If you haven't, I would lay low for a while. But I guess he was in studio shooting some videos. But I get a message from him. Hey, I watched Puck Time. Did you guys really spend 38 minutes chatting about 2 games? I was like, actually, we talked about 4 games, but we had a lot to talk about regardless.
Wait a minute. How did you talk about 4 games when there were only 2 games?
No, we did a look ahead to today, and we looked ahead to a couple of games. One of them was I used the lines I used were, because there was no published lines, were my own forecasted look ahead lines, and to show you how we're a little close. My Toronto Vegas line was Leafs minus 132. Vegas plus 116, and it had opened at 130 and plus 110. So I wasn't too far off there. And the other game was the Pittsburgh New York Islanders game, and I had the Islanders at minus 127, Pittsburgh at plus 109, and the line's currently 115 for the Islanders, so I'm about 10 cents off there. But we discussed those games.
It's actually flipped now. The Penguins are now the favorite in the game, so there's money showing up on Pittsburgh in that game. Not mine.
It's a really weird thing in the sense of in talking about that game is, and I discussed it on the show, was that a couple of weeks ago I looked at the Islanders and I looked at their. Anytime I'm looking at teams, I'm looking at their schedule for the next couple of weeks. You can sort of see patterns in a schedule that they're just going to play some teams that they should get wins again. And the Islanders just look like a team that were about to go on a streak. And I said, don't wait 5-6 days or 5-6 games when they've won 6 in a row and say, why didn't I jump on this earlier? Jump on them now. And they've won 10 straight. So, and we talked about the Pens. Well, we saw what happened in the playoffs last year, Dave. 4 straight for the Islanders. So maybe the Pens have a little revenge.
Yeah, and I think that's got to do with the line movement here. But I don't really want to get in the way of the Islanders Express right now.
Yeah, they play a style where they give you very little. There's not much there.
It's Barry Trotz.
And they wait for you. Yeah, exactly. Sorry to cut you off there. But yeah, they set traps and they punish you.
I said, what is it? It's Barry Trotz. It's the best system in hockey.
Yeah.
He runs the best system in the NHL. As long as his players buy into it. It's a defense-first system. You might not put up the numbers in a Trotz system that you might elsewhere, but these teams win games. I mean, he did it for, 20 years in Nashville with what was an expansion franchise, and they were better than their talent every year. And then he wins the Cup in Washington, and he's transformed the Islanders. I mean, the Islanders were terrible going back to the beginning of last season when Trotz took the job. And now they're playing like one of the best teams in the league. And they had a good year last year. So the head coach matters.
Alex?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I said, Islanders made that move from worst to first defensively once he installed his system. The one thing that, I would look at Pittsburgh in this spot only because of the fact that they've got everybody back from all the guys that were hurt at the beginning of the year. And that was a tough one that they lost against the Penguins, or against the Bruins, I should say, the other night. I could see where they would be motivated between having that game, losing it the fashion they did, on top of the fact that they're playing the Islanders the first time since that playoff sweep. I would not be shocked at all to see the Penguins win here, but it's hard to bet against a team that's 110 straight.
Yeah,
that. By the way, that is not a great angle. Okay, it's one of those angles that makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make you a lot of money. The playoff revenge thing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I mean, it's one of those things that sounds good in theory, but really doesn't play out that way. And I'm not saying to play against it, but it's to my way of thinking, it's not something.
What about in terms of how if it's, for example, if it was a 7-game series as opposed to getting a team where it was just an embarrassing sweep, you factor that in or no?
I did a breakdown of years. Now, maybe it's changed in the last few years, but I remember doing a breakdown of it both in the NBA and the NHL years ago, and it was strictly 50-50. There was no pattern whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's. I'm not big on the, let's say the playoff revenge. It's something that, much like trends, you mentioned them, but it shouldn't be the focal point of making a game a player or not.
Right. I agree with that.
I talked about it. If Buffalo's playing Pittsburgh, I mentioned this yesterday. If Buffalo's playing Pittsburgh and their last 10, 7 have gone over the total, it doesn't mean that tonight's game you're playing the over because it's going over the total. Different players, different goalies, different systems. It changes, but you sort of keep an eye on the trends, anyways, in that sense. And to your point, Alex, Pittsburgh in that game against Boston played really well. I understand. They came back from a 3-goal deficit, took the lead, sort of gave it up late, but you got Malcolm back, you got Galchenyuk back. That's 2/3 of that second line. They've got them back. They're probably going to string some wins together. So it's something that you've got to look at. All right, guys, we are going to do the last minute of play. We're going to start with Alex on this one. Montreal, Philadelphia. Flyers are minus 115. Montreal is minus 105.
Yeah, I would look at the over here in this spot. We got Carter Hart in that once again, and he hasn't been that great. Montreal finally getting the offense rolling in that last game that they played against Boston. So this is a spot where I definitely think that we could see a lot of goals here.
Well, Carter Hart was really good last game for the Flyers, and they needed that because he has not been. He played well, I think, to start the season, and then he hit a bad slump. Just wasn't controlling rebounds. Just looked terrible. But he was really good in his last start. And the Canadiens are coming off one of the wildest games of the year, where they got the late goal to beat Boston in a game where the Bruins came roaring back in the third period, and the Canadiens scored to win it. Not real easy to go on the road after one of those. I'm looking at the Flyers here.
All right, we're going to head to the Rangers and Canes. Canes are a big price here, minus 270. Rangers, you can get them at plus 220. Rangers played last night. The total, 6.5. Dave, we'll go to you first on this one.
It's funny. You expect to hear something, and then you hear something completely different. And Brindamore, who's done a great job with Carolina, after their last game, they didn't play real. They didn't have a great game. I forget what the score was. I think they lost 4-1 or something like that. And you're expecting the coach to be hard-ass after the game. He's after the game saying, you know what? We played a good game. We just things didn't go our way tonight. I love that. That's a coach who's not panicking at all off a bad performance. They should get back on track against the Rangers tonight.
Alex, anything to add?
It's a stay-away game for me. The Rangers, for some reason, over the last decade plus, have played Carolina extremely well. I get there off of a back-to-back, but this big of an inflated price, I might be leaning to taking a shot at the Rangers, but it's going to be a pass for me.
All right. We talked about already the Pens and Islanders and obviously the Golden Knights and the Leafs. Let's head to the go to you first, Alex. The LA Kings, minus 120 against the Ottawa Senators. Senators are even money right now. The total 6.5.
Yeah, no way I'm playing either one of these teams. I mean, we've seen Ottawa getting their offense rolling. LA's been giving up goals left and right, so I might look at playing the over. But this is just not a comfortable spot for either team.
No, this is the AHL game on the NHL schedule tonight.
I love it. It's funny because you get to the point where you look at the worst team in the NHL, and then you start talking almost like you see people on Twitter about, wow, the Miami Dolphins. I wonder what the line would be against Alabama. Well, I'm sorry, but the Dolphins would smoke Alabama. An AHL team, I don't know. There's some young stars on the AHL. Maybe it's a little different.
No. These teams would still be favored. The one thing, though, is Ottawa does have the young talent. They're clearly in a rebuilding mode. They might be the worst team in the league. I don't know why the Kings kept all their veterans in the offseason, and the value is dropping on them. And one guy, and I said this, and I thought, boy, I was surprised they didn't try to deal Jonathan Quick over the summer. Somebody would have bitten. He can't play anymore. He is. You watch, and I hate saying this because this guy's been a great goaltender, and I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's got the 2 Cup championships. But you watch him now, and he is constantly out of position. He's just an old goalie at this point, and I don't think he is an NHL goaltender at this point. And they're kind of stuck with it.
Let me ask you something. If let's say they do you put any sort of faith or any credence in, like, let's say Quick does get moved and he has like a revival of sorts with a team that plays better defensively and can score goals?
I don't think there's any takers.
No.
I mean, I'm not a scout. Don't get me wrong. But if I were scouting the Kings, individual players, that the first thing I would note on Quick is constantly out of position.
All right.
That to me is a sign of an aging goaltender.
All right.
And he's had a lot of injuries with his groin and stuff. Well, so that his lateral movement, obviously, that it takes a toll on you. And he's played a lot of minutes over the years. So yeah, all that adding up and makes sense. Unless a team has an injury and needs a goalie desperately in the playoff race, that's the only way I can see him, getting moved somewhere.
All right, we've got the superstar stacked Vancouver Canucks.
Oh boy, they're good.
Because I know Prez will be watching this. Laying a buck 40 against Alex B. Smith's Chicago Blackhawks. Alex, we're going to go to you first on this one. The over-under is 6.5, shaded 125 to the under.
Yeah, if you see the Hawks-Sharks game the other night, I mean, it was just a telltale sign. They just panned across the Hawks bench, and the faces of every player and every coach, it just looked like they just did not want to be in that arena that night. Patrick Kane's getting frustrated. Everybody it's trickling down, and these guys are gripping their sticks tighter. They're not skating as hard. There's just a complete disconnect right now with the Hawks. No way I could play them.
No, and Vancouver's coming off a loss against the Blues. It was, by the way, the craziest. And I won this. I was on St. Louis. So it was the craziest finish to a game that I've ever seen. In overtime,
yeah,
the two Vancouver guys bump into each other back around their own goal line. The other one's trapped behind them. And the Blues got a 3-0 break.
Yeah.
and it was, I'm watching it. I got a St. Louis ticket. So it's like, this is the greatest thing ever. But they won. But this Canucks team is really, they're legit. This is a very good hockey team. Chicago's a mess right now. They're 4-7-3, and Robin Lehner has been fantastic. Yeah. He's been absolutely great for the Blackhawks. Can you imagine? They might not have any wins if it was not for Lehner. He's played at an all-star level, but he's the only one on the team who is.
Yeah. And Dave, did you see that they had a video with that 3-0 break, and they had like circus music playing behind it? I put it on Twitter. It's absolutely hilarious.
It's tough to miss a 3-0. I've seen it happen. I've seen like 4-on-1s and what have you. But that's where you put a game away. All right, Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that has one of my favorite soundbite coaches, Tortorella, on the team, coaching the team, against the Arizona Coyotes, who are playing some pretty good hockey. And
they're a good team.
Before I throw it to you, Dave, I was watching the Arizona game, and something that in that game against the Flames, and it actually really bothered me, something that one of the announcers said. He was talking about Phil Kessel. And the guy says, and I know you've talked about this before, he goes, yeah, Kessel's not one of the fittest athletes out there. And I thought to myself, okay, he may not look fit, but there's no way you can't say the guy is not fit. The guy scores. The guy goes up and down the ice. He back checks. He forechecks. You don't do that if you're overweight.
He plays every game. He plays every game. What's he up to around? I don't know what his consecutive game streak is now, but it's really big. He's approaching that level of all-time consecutive game streaks. So, yeah, he doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. He's still a good player. He shows up every night. He puts the puck in the net. Arizona's legit. Look, they've had such bad luck the last couple of years with early season injuries, which absolutely crippled them. And actually, they had another big injury early this season where they lost one of their better guys who's basically out for the season. But this team's bought into what Rick Tocchet's doing as far as the system goes. They're a very disciplined team. They've got one line that's starting to emerge as a dangerous line. That's the one thing the Coyotes didn't have was guys who could put the puck in the back of the net regularly. But this Schmaltz line, I'm telling you something, it's not getting it's not going to get the attention of the Perfection line or of a McDavid line or something like that. But this is a good line. And unfortunately for us, the market is now catching up to the Coyotes as a team that's legit. And Columbus, look, Tortorella will get what he can out of this team, but it's just not a very good roster.
Alex?
Yeah, I would take a shot maybe here with Arizona puck line, and Columbus is just playing some sloppy hockey. They've lost 5 in a row. And Dave, like you said, with Arizona, that Nick Schmaltz trade, they got him from the Hawks. That was a huge win for them. And Connor Murphy's done virtually nothing. Granted, he's been hurt for the Hawks, but like I said, Schmaltz has really emerged into the star that everybody thought he was going to become in Chicago, but it didn't fit in at the time, and now he's working out well in Arizona.
All right, before we go to our last game of this segment and the show, I know a couple of guys in the comment section the other day were looking for some plays and some parlay plays. So this is one they played earlier this morning. Washington Capitals. These are first period over 1.5. So Washington Capitals, Florida. The over 1.5 parlayed with the Devils and Flames over 1.5. You take the two together and you're getting plus 160 on your money. So obviously like 8-5 for the guys who use different kind of odds, but plus 160 on that 2-team parlay. It's not that bad. Let's head to the last game here. Nashville Predators. I'm going to throw it to Dave first on this one. Lane 135 on the road against the Avalanche, or plus 115 at home. The over-under is 6 here. You wouldn't normally see the Preds favored in Colorado because they got such a good team, but injuries. This is what it comes down to. So, Dave.
Yeah, and look, they've hit the skids because of the injuries. Need to get that team healthy again. Nashville has been a little bit spotty lately, but they got their trip to the pharmacy was actually a trip to Detroit. So after playing a few bad games where the Nashville Predators were kind of sloppy, not really crisp in the defensive end at all, they go into Detroit. They score 5 goals in the second period and just blow the Red Wings off the ice. That's a little bit of a buy sign in this talented Nashville team. Market agrees. Line's going up to 125. I think it's going to get to 130. So, kind of a beat-up home team here. And Nashville coming in now with a more positive frame of mind after beating up the Red Wings.
Alex, anything to add?
Yeah, I would look at playing the first period under in this spot. We've seen, Nashville was going back and forth, up and down in games early. That's kind of cooled off. They've gone 2-6 to the under in the first period, last 8 games. And we mentioned with Colorado, they don't have that offensive punch of that top line now. They've kind of been struggling to get goals as well.
That's Alex B. Smith and Dave Cokin. Again, get their plays right now using promo code 49NHL. Get 7 days of their plays. Alex got a card up. Dave will definitely have some NHL over the course of the 7 days. He'll have some packages up. And as I stated with Dave's plays, sorry.
I was just going to say I'll probably have 1, maybe 2 up tonight. They won't be up till later on. I like to get as much info as I can, but buying the all access package, you don't have to worry about that. You'll get the games as soon as I post them.
Obviously, and perfect. And as I mentioned before, he's had some nice plus money plays. And when you're playing NHL, it's always great to have those. It doesn't hurt to hit those, and you're getting plus 130, 140 on your money. So definitely head over to wagertalk.com, enter 49NHL under Dave's 7-day NHL package, or sports memo, same thing, 49 NHL to get Alex B. Smith. Guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on. Hopefully the audio is good on this. And it doesn't sound like I'm cutting you guys off. There was a little bit of a delay on my end. So, but listen, guys, good luck and thanks for coming out.
Yeah, cheers.